Good morning, friends. First of all, congratulations those who managed to qualify this stage, and for those who could not manage to qualify this stage, we'll say to show patience and endurance. Though it is very easy to say, but it is very difficult to face that situation. I know it. It's very difficult. But believe me, history is witness in itself. You cannot find a single example in history across the walk of life. Those to whom you consider as a successful man, without showing the endurance, ups and downs comes and go, it will remain so. But anyway, so the very purpose of this session is to make you aware about the do's and the don'ts for those crucial 25-30 minutes, which is going to make or break all. So largely, while interacting with the candidates, I have witnessed that lots of anxiety and nervousness is there. It has to be there. It's obvious. It's obvious. I can understand this. But then how you will manage, that is also very important. It's not possible to know each and everything in the world. Because often you people used to ask, if I don't know, don't know means don't know, then sir is there to tell you. Probably he is the funniest person. But one thing is there, you cannot know each and everything what exists in the world. Number two, this is a personality test. So this is more about your understanding and more about your psychological makeup. What kind of person you are. How much you know about yourself. And this is the reason that you will see that on an average, if 25-30 minutes are there, then almost 50% time board used to dedicate to the questions which is directly related to your DAF. It is simple. You have, on the time occasion of filling the form, you have claimed so much about yourself. This award, this leadership, hobby, 3-4 hobbies, guitar, meditation, hockey, so many things. But the thing is that the area, the subject, the choice you have claimed, really you know, or it's just superficial. See, these days you will see, often you have also some apprehension regarding the board, that some board is favorable, some board is not favorable. It's not like that. I was speaking to sir, and first time I also come to know, because it's very easy for any institute or any faculty to speak more about the inside, but really what goes inside nobody knows, except the people like sir. Nobody knows. So for the first time he told me it's not possible, because the reason is every day by evening average is calculated, which board is giving in which direction, and then it has to be, it is generally regulated. It's not like that. It's obviously on the basis of performance it will go in that direction, but certainly it's not like that. So don't be fear, okay, fine, such and such board is there who used to give good marks, and some of the board, you can say, members are not favorable to the candidates. It's not like that. There cannot be any prejudice. So broadly, what I will suggest for the remaining 20-25 days, which is with you. Go for DAF. Go for national issues, international issues, largely. Then home state, hometown, prepare it thoroughly. Wherever we can support, we'll support you. And in the beginning itself, I told you this is your personality test. So on the basis of my previous experience, I will also suggest not to go for too many mocks. Very limited. Be original. Not try to adjust, accommodate too many suggestions at this juncture of time. And this is why I'm not speaking too much. I also know that sir is here, so ideally I should not speak much also. But the thing here, I tell you, that it's very easy for me also to suggest. But really, is it possible to accommodate all the things in next 20-25 days? Humanly not. But then certainly, there are certain do's and don'ts. So I will request sir, Sri R.P. Agarwal sir was senior civil servant, served in Government of India on the position of Secretary Higher Education in HRD Ministry, and he was in UPSC board for so many years. He was also a member or part of expert committees. So on behalf of you, I will request sir to share his experience, or more important, that sir, please tell us what board expects. Fine. When board used to give, or you can say, a reward someone, because candidates are there who used to get 7, 8, 9, 10, it's there. And then at the same time, candidates are also there who got 130, 35, and so. So ultimately, what makes board happy, being an insider, you can suggest something, and then after this session, we will have, you can say, the question answer session, because I know there will be a lot of queries, though it can be easily clubbed, because all the queries are almost similar in nature. And then we are going Facebook Live also, because many of the candidates are outside, and those. So we'll take up their questions also. Then we'll try to go for it. Very soon we'll provide you current affairs material that we are started preparing in the bullet points. Just short, 2, 3, quick. It should not be lousy. And then once date comes, you can say after Holi, we'll start our mock, then we'll discuss. And so first of all, I request Agarwal sir to share his experience, and then we'll open the floor for the questions. Whatever question you have, you can do so. Fine. Thank you.
How are you all doing? Good morning to everyone. So let me also congratulate all of you in having qualified in the mains and getting selected for the interviews. I think it's like a race where the last lap matters whether you finally get a medal or not. So I think the fact that you have done well till now itself shows that you have the mettle, and it's little more of preparation and self-confidence. I think some of you would have seen the film Chak De. There was a speech by Shah Rukh Khan, 70 minutes. Yeah, so remember that. Your 70 minutes is now and here. And in fact, I think compared to my times, I feel very jealous of all of you for one reason, that ICT has shrunk space and time, but has also enlarged your opportunities tremendously. You can access knowledge, information on any time, anything, anywhere basis. and you don't have to sacrifice your thumb if you learn something surreptitiously through internet. Am I right? So you are lucky. You know, in the IAS board, as very rightly pointed out by Mr. Manoj, they are not trying to see what all you do not know. They want to see how much you know, what do you know, and what you know, whether you know it well enough. One thing which they hate is somebody who's trying to bluff around. The interview board would be most unhappy if they think you're trying to bluff around, you're not sincere, you're casual. Of course, this reminds me, the first thing would be, you have seen Wimbledon matches? Wimbledon, they don't come and play in pajamas, am I right? They have a proper dress. Similarly, when you go for the interview board, I would strongly suggest that you have a reasonably, you should be reasonably well dressed, because it would be summer, perhaps, depending on if it is March, it won't be that hot. Otherwise, it tends to be hot. So it's not a must that each one of you must have a blazer or suit. But definitely, I think I would suggest the check shirts, etc. is out. It should be a good plain shirt. It should not be very dark color. In fact, even mine is slightly darker. The lighter, the better. Cream color shirt, white. If you are comfortable with the tie, it's fine. Your shoe must have laces. I'm talking of for boys. Maybe the ladies can decide. But by and large, I mean, a good kurta salwar or a sari would do well. But for gents, definitely the interview board would hate to see any one of you in jeans. I hope I'm making myself clear, because this is the first impression you will create once you enter the board. If you're not well dressed doesn't mean that you have to have some branded shirts or blazers or branded shoes or something like that. No. They, in fact, would appreciate if you are simple but well dressed. Okay, so that is the first starting point. And then, I think, I don't know, you have all filled in some details of your resume or biodata, or you will have to fill there, I think, is not? You already sent. So kindly study, I am using the word study what you have filled in, because many questions would be asked on what you have filled in. I am just giving you an example. I don't know, has anybody filled hockey as the sport? Has any one of you filled hockey? No? Okay, good. Otherwise, even including I used to ask, is there offside in hockey? Many of the students who have not played or who are not playing hockey will say, yes, there is no offside in hockey now, as you would have seen. So, also whatever games or sports you have mentioned, you must have good thorough knowledge of that. You must also know some good names who have achieved something worthwhile in that field. And why you like that sport vis-a-vis others, maybe you can, if you have something you can say, otherwise of course I just like it, it's okay. And as Mr. Manoj has pointed out, it is not necessary for you to know everything. Though I would also mention to you while talking, my talk is not very structured. I will be saying a few things here, a few things there, but maybe at the end, maybe you can make some sense out of it. They would like to go into details, like, I don't know, physics, chemistry, I'm sure there must be many of you, or no? Engineering? Now, if I ask any one of you, can you define an atom? Will you try? Please tell me what is an atom. Pardon, smallest? particle. Pardon? Why? Molecule also is independent. There would be further particles, but it doesn't define fully. No, some of them can independently exist for some time. So it doesn't cover the definition fully. Definition would be that smallest particle which can exist independently and exhibits the properties of the main substance or element. You know, the smallest particle would be electron, proton, and I don't know how many of you are from physics or anybody from physics. But like there is a standard model of an atom. You have read that? Fermions, leptons, God's particle. What's God's particle? You have some idea?
It's the Higgs boson is given the name God's particle because it defines how how all the particles attain mass. It is the exchange particle for the boson field.
Yeah, very good. But why is it called God's particle?
So because it explains many of the phenomena of the standard model and helps us to analyze
Why God
why
particle?
matter exists.
Why God particle? In fact,
How particles of
pardon?
it will explain how particle is created.
In fact, the Higgs boson said, I mean, both of them when were trying to do that, what damn God particle? So perhaps from there it has been, I'm not very sure, but this is what I think was one of the ways of looking at it. Now, as I said, depth of knowledge in whatever field you are doing. I'll give you some examples as to what kind of depth of knowledge they would be looking for, including how was Earth's circumference measured. Any guess?
Faraday's law.
Please.
So using Faraday's method.
Which year was it? How was the accuracy? Parallax, who did it first? So, this was sometime in 220 BC. Can you imagine? 220 BC, when there was nothing great available, then the scientists have calculated the circumference of the Earth, and the accuracy was fairly good. Of course, what he is saying is true. They have taken, sun was vertical at one particular place. They traveled to Alexandria, which was some quite 400-500 miles away or some such, and then there they saw what was the inclination of the sun at the same time. Simultaneously, they asked the angle to be calculated and found that distance was 1/50th of the total circle, because with the angle you can make out. I'm just giving, this is not as if they are going to ask you this. It's not as if they are going to ask you this, but I'm just saying that you must have curiosity. And luckily today Google Guru can give you everything. You just type and you will get an answer. In my days, one had to perhaps go to 10 libraries and hunt around, and perhaps then also we may not get an answer. So you are in that sense very lucky. The Gurukulam has become Shishyakulam. The gurus are coming to your house and teaching you. Am I right? The internet. Then this attitude. They would also like to sometimes test your patience, especially in services, you will come across so many unforeseen circumstances. And no book describes all those unforeseen circumstances and gives you ready-made solutions. But they expect that you should not be of the type who will be just, if 2 questions they ask and you're not able to give answer and then you're sweating, frightened, not able to speak. It should not happen. They are, in fact, let me also calm you down by saying they are very friendly people. The chairman of the interview board, there would be generally 4 or 5 members, could be 6 also. And there is also one very good rule that nobody disturbs you when one of the members is asking you questions. It's not as if 4 of them will pounce on you directly. Once one member finishes, then only the second member is supposed to ask you some question. But while speaking to them, you should not only talk to one person, you are talking to the board. So you must give your due respect to everyone and almost look at each one of them in a certain manner, though the person who has asked, you have to give him a little more attention. And of course, when you enter, you have to greet them. Again, when you go out, how you enter, how clumsily you force the door or how you gently close it also becomes important. So they are going to watch what kind of a person you are. At the same time, it has been actually told to all the members that don't try to overstrain, or don't, if a student or a candidate is not knowing in a particular subject, you don't have to tease him by asking further and further in that area. In that sense, sometimes they may even say, suppose you are a engineering student, mechanical engineering student. Is there anyone here? Yeah, suppose you do not remember iron carbon diagram. You must have read?
Yes.
I don't think you remember it now, or you remember? Parts of it. If they ask you to draw it, perhaps you will find it difficult to draw. Am I right? But one, try to know some of these tricky areas which you tend to forget. If you can draw it, you will have won the battle. But even if you are not able to draw it, you can say, sorry, it's at the moment I am not in a position to draw. But they might ask you, okay, if this area you are not, which area you are strong at? Then you must tell, well, heat treatment I know well. Then in heat treatment, it should not happen that you tell heat treatment and again you mess up there. So at least 1 or 2 areas, keep them as your areas of strength, where even if they go into a little deeper detail, you should be able to come out of it with flying colors. All right? So I think you will have to, these 20-25 days also, you must spend your time in rationing it properly and knowing those important things which will make you stand in good stead. Then of course, current affairs is one of the very, very important things. Even if that area is not directly your subject, but even then I think you have to know something more about it. Like Trump saying, I will not allow H-1B visa or this or that. You must have some views on that. How is it affecting India? And can India do something? Suppose somebody were to ask you, I don't know, have some of you studied WTO? You have. There's something called MFN, Most Favored Nation. What is it?
So it means to, when 2 countries are trading, so when the products of one country goes to another country, they don't have to differentiate. They will be sold at the par with the national products.
Yeah. Okay, please tell me.
So when there is a trading between the countries, and if one country is buying from another country, and if all are members of the WTO, then all should be treated equally. It cannot be
great, perfect. But there are some deviations to this. Are you aware?
There are some exceptions,
Like,
like a low developed country. For example, Bangladesh has a special concession in textiles. It can trade at a lower concession.
there are two things, Bete. I'm very happy you said GSP, Generalized System of Preferences, and GSTP. There are two derogations from this MFN rule, but that is again primarily meant for LDCs and developing countries. And also there's one more actually, regional trading arrangements. So, but this most favored nation concept, because the wording is such, Pakistan, I'm sorry to say, is a defaulter. I mean, any member country of WTO has to necessarily extend this most favored nation status to the other member country. It is obligatory. And anybody who does not is liable for action. Some of you would have also read about GATT and WTO. Does GATT exist today? And GATT is very much there. General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs is one of the most important agreements under WTO. Only thing is WTO, in addition to GATT, now has another 15-20 other agreements. General Agreement on Trade in Services, TRIPS, Trade-Related Intellectual Property Rights, TRIMS, Trade-Related Investment Measures, Subsidies and Countervailing Act, Anti-Dumping Act. There are several such things. So now WTO is much more comprehensive thing. Was India a member of GATT? Which year? Yeah, around 47. Yeah. And difference between product patent, process patent, how many types of IPRs are there. I'm just giving you a broad sweep just to tell you that these are important things. I'm just going into some area and just telling you how there is something called geographical indications. Who knows? You know. What is it? Can anybody define? Anyhow, you can read this basically, basmati rice, champagne, scotch, silk of some place, Kanchivaram. But they have given even a higher level of protection to wines and spirits because Western world managed to have this, which is very unfair though. In basmati rice, you cannot say that this is a kind of a basmati rice. No, you can say, sorry. Or Darjeeling tea, you can have another tea and you can say it's a kind of Darjeeling tea. But on a whiskey, which is just like a scotch, you cannot say this is kind of a scotch. Or we have sparkling wine from Pune. They cannot say it's kind of a champagne. It is prohibited. So Western world has managed to do, to manage their affairs better. And the developing countries got what is called some best endeavor clauses, which are not legally enforceable, but they are goody-goody words, which don't mean much. I would strongly emphasize that all of you must go through Hindustan Times, Times of India, Hindu, Economic Times, Financial Express. I think you need not repeat the same news comes in every paper. So you need not waste time on reading the same news in every paper. Somebody has died on some road on Mathura Road or Noida Highway, it's of no consequence. You need not waste your time on that. But if Trump has done something, Trump versus Putin, something is happening, maybe that's worth reading. Okay. Or Pakistan putting Hafiz on arrest or on, restricting his gun licenses or doing something is of relevance. So you can ration your time accordingly. As Manoj Saab had mentioned, I think it's very important to know more about your own place of origin, and even suppose you are studied in some institution, some university, you should know how old is that university, what are its, does it have any great alumni who have done, proud, who have done us all proud. Maybe like if you are from Punjab University, somebody will definitely ask, who are your important alumnus, and you should be able to say Dr. Manmohan Singh was at least teaching there. I don't know whether he was also alumnus of that. Or I think he may not be alumnus because he was from Lahore, etc. That time I think Punjab University was also in Lahore actually. So even Dholpur House you will be going. What is Dholpur House? Anyone knows? Yeah, but what is it? Why is it called Dholpur House? There was no king. Rana. And it was built in 1920 by Rana Bhagwant Singh. Anybody else from that Dholpur family you are aware? Yes, very right. Very right. So, you should be able to, now if they ask you this, I think if you are able to answer, it will mean something that yes, you are keeping your eyes and ears open. You are alert. If you are going to a place, you are curious enough to know what is it. Am I right? So, these are just examples to tell you that they expect you to be a little more alert and be curious. Okay. And in biodata, if you have filled in some hobbies, if you have filled music, then you should be clear which type of music you like and why you like. Okay. Even if you are not, they are not going to make you play music there, so at least theoretically you can, but if you say you like to sing, they may make you sing also. That happens. If you say you write, you are a writer or you write poems or you are a poet, they'll ask you to recite one or two poems of yours. If somebody has filled in Sanskrit as one of the languages which you can speak or write or something, they'll ask you to recite a few slokas from Gita. So I think what I'm trying to emphasize is that you must have little more idea about what you have written in your biodata. And they hate to see any spelling mistakes or carelessly having filled in your biodata. I think if it has already happened, you will have to perhaps, I don't know what amends you can make, but whatever is written there, when you are there, be careful. That day also. It should be very neatly written. I mean, it should be, and then you should be careful about writing where capital has to come, where hyphen has to come, where comma has to come. Because that is all the paper they have in front of them. They have not seen what, in fact, no board member, including the chairperson of the board, knows what have you scored in your written marks. And let me also reassure you that there is a very fair system. You cannot question the integrity of this system. Even the chairman UPSC does not know who is going to go to which board. Till 10 or 10:30, whenever it starts, nobody knows. It's by lots. by lot you are allotted, you go to so and so board. So their system is perfect. So please don't feel that the board can be biased this way or that way. And if at all, the board has a little more, I would say, affirmative bias towards people coming from slightly poorer background. They'll have a bias to help them. So if any one of you are coming from rural background or from a background which is not very affluent, don't think that it's going to go against you. It's going to be in your favor. But that favor or this is not very large favor. I mean, I'm just saying, so don't, if you are from a well-to-do family also, you can do well. There's no, but I'm saying many times some of you may have a doubt, well, I belong to so-and-so poor area or I come from a rural background. So that does not, then I think some of the current issues, what is your take on India's economy or state of economy today? While they don't want to discuss politics, in fact, they don't discuss politics in the interview board, but they can definitely ask you, what do you think of some claim by the government that India is showing green shoots of growth? Or they may ask you, how do you think the GDP of the country is going to be after demonetization? Is it going to be very high? Is it going to do well, or is going to be a dip, as Manmohan Singh ji had mentioned? And of course, on demonetization itself, they could ask you, do you think it was a good step, bad step? What's your view? Now, some of these are somewhat controversial issues, and you also cannot give an impression that you know everything about that area. But you can definitely bring out some facts. They would like to know how much facts you know about it. Like, what was the total currency which was demonetized? Roughly how much came back? How many people file income tax returns of above 10 lakhs? I think only about 24 lakhs who file that. And 25 lakh cars are bought every year. And there's so many interesting figures which the finance minister in his budget had spoken. More than 2 lakhs was deposited in 60 lakh accounts, while hardly 3% of the Indian population files income tax returns, and only about 1.5% out of them actually pay. I don't exactly remember the figure, but I think finance minister in his budget speech has also said about 2 crores go abroad every year, I think. Was it 2 crores? Something like, pardon?
In the past 2 years.
Yeah. So the people traveling abroad, a few of them we can say, well, they were of worker category or this category, but by and large, if only so this demonetization has definitely given you a very good data of people who are avoiding or evading taxes. Avoiding is legally okay, but evading is what? You can avoid paying tax on something by taking ATCC route or this or that. That also is not really avoiding, that's an exemption. That's allowed. So, but there are issues. I mean, definitely you can mention that, well, I think in the implementation maybe there were some problems. Some bankers did mischief and people did suffer. So you can bring out, I don't think they'll press you to say, well, was it good, was it bad? They just want to know how much aware you are, because then there would be questions like, I think if you are an engineer from IIT, is there any IIT engineer here? Yeah. They might say, is country not wasting money on you? country has wasted money on you. You have been taught with taxpayers' money, and now you want to leave that and come into something which any journalist can manage. Am I right? So you must have some cogent, well thought of answer. And each one of you can have your own answer, I am not saying. But definitely the answer should not be that it gives me power. Because they don't want to hear that. You can definitely say, well, in IAS or civil services also, there are so many jobs where technical knowledge would be very important. In fact, yours truly is also an engineer. I don't know how many of you had heard of SCRA. Have you heard? Yeah, so let me be a little immodest that I have gone through UPSC twice. I first joined railways as special class railway apprentice, and then later on I switched over to IAS. Then again I had to go through UPSC. So there is, in IAS you can be secretary industries, you can be secretary finance, you can be secretary medical and health. So a doctor his services can be utilized in medical and health department, even in the districts. After all, if roads are being built, or power stations, power houses have to be built, or atomic reactors have to be built, or there's so many solar power stations are now. You have a solar mission, so you have a full IT department. So many of these would need expertise, and you can say, well, we'll provide this expertise, plus you are enabled by the variety of jobs and the variety of experience you will gain, and the opportunity to serve a very large population. If you are in Hindustan Lever or Unilever or one of these, you are catering to whatever great work you will do, it will affect only a small percentage of people. But in a district which has a population of 30 lakhs or 40 lakhs, whatever you do will affect many, many lives, and especially what you can do to the poorer section. It's like many a time I used to feel that we are doing dharma. After all, you are giving old age pensions to those who don't have both ends to meet. And if you can do it properly, if you can ensure that your midday meal scheme is working properly, if you can ensure that your ration shops do not cheat and are doing their job well, you have helped so many large number of people. Then they may even ask sometimes that, what do you think is wrong with India and what are your solutions to it? So think over it. I can't give you a solution. If I knew, perhaps I would have been somewhere else. But each one of you think, read, try to write down what you think is wrong and what we can do. Then they would also like to know whether you remember brief facts, a triangle. If ABC are sides, what is the area of the triangle? Simple things. Or a sphere, what is the area of a sphere? Why droplets which fall from the heaven during rain, why are they spherical and not cubes? Anybody? But you should be able to, especially if you are a physics student, you must be able to tell why there is an embankment when you are taking a turn. You must be knowing. So you should be able to draw that diagram and show why the person, if a scooter or a motorbike fellow is driving, why does he have to bend towards inside? In fact, you would have seen the races, they are almost horizontal. Why? Because there is one component of gravity, other which is centrifugal, which is trying, and that is how the balance is made. Then even simple things, why are traffic lights not blue in color? Scattering is less. Why? Very good. So small things, but even if in one or two cases fumble, don't start sweating. Keep a cheerful face. Okay? And they are not wolves trying to pounce on you. In fact, you will find them very pleasant, much more pleasant than what you ever expected anyone to be. So there is nothing to fear. But also ensure that you are fit on that day. I mean, you sleep well. It shouldn't happen that because of, is there some time constraint? We can. Achha, let me just see if I have one or two more points. If you are an economics student, maybe they will ask you what is the difference between financial evaluation and economic evaluation. Okay, economic evaluation would be shadow costing, shadow pricing, and social costs and social benefits, etc. Then if somebody is from electrical engineering or mechanical engineering, what is the cost per megawatt of solar power today? Any idea? Any guess? No, cost of establishing a power plant, 1 megawatt, is of the order of now 5 crores per megawatt. And unit per unit ranging from 3 rupees to 5-6 rupees, and that is because in some states there is 80-90% subsidy, somewhere 30% subsidy. So they take that subsidy into account, and that's how this happens. Then I think Constitution of India is very important. Rights and duties. When did duties come in? Were they there from the beginning? 42nd. What else? Pardon? Yeah, but only one amendment? What was added? What was added? Very good, very good. Then, like economics, perhaps even theory of comparative advantage for international trade is very important. Ricardo's theory. Then I think if any management student is there, IAM bill would be one candidate which, if any one of you is from minorities, triple talaq, what is your view, etc. These are all current topics, so you can, and if somebody is talking of management and MRTP versus Competition Commission of India, what is the difference? Would anybody be able to tell here? Any management student? बता सकते हैं बेटे? So it's important. आप पढ़ लीजिए उसको. What is dumping? Can anybody explain what is dumping?
Another country is trying to sell their products below the cost of production. In a way, they are trying to dump their products in your country.
You are half right, bete.
So not the cost of production, but the domestic prices. Below the domestic prices, not the cost of production.
Very right, very right. Otherwise, normally China is dumping, as if garbage dump की तरह वो बात करते हैं, वो नहीं है. It's, if you are selling below your domestic price, then yes, it's dumping. And then what can be done if there is a dumping? There's something called safeguard duty, have you heard? What is that? Pardon?
Volatility in markets.
If there is a surge in imports, then you can, but it can be only for a limited period. And if it exceeds that limited period, you have to compensate others. How will you find out whether an item which is coming into your country is genetically modified? Any biotech student? There is a polymerase chain reactor that sorry? Yeah, but you should know what is it likely to be modified with, and then you can use that. And then I would strongly suggest that each one of you should go through the budget speech of our finance minister, because it covers so many items. So thank you very much for your kind patience, and I wonder whether I can answer your queries, but if I can, I'll try.
Thank you very much, sir. See, the very purpose of interaction in this way, before coming to this place, we had a discussion, very long discussion at such residence also, and here also. Just the purpose was to deliberate, make certain things very clear, that you should know what are your strong areas. If no, then what are the probable areas? This was the reason sir was going from, you can say, the physics to mechanical to biotech to this. What could be the probable areas apart from the current affairs? So the probable areas, the probable topics, the probable subjects could be your email address also. I do remember in 2013, I don't want to take the name, one girl was there, and the first question, Alka Sarohi ma'am was there. She asked, and because I cannot reveal her email ID, but the first question was, why your email ID is so? So what sir was saying? Curiosity. While creating the email ID, we never gave a thought to it, that one day my first question in UPSC may start from this. But this can be. So what I'm trying to say, what was the purpose, the design, was just to identify the probable areas. Though it's not possible, humanly not possible to do each and everything, but certainly a good mind, a curious mind can identify better than the rest. So if you are a curious mind, if you are alert, then probably you can identify, you can search certain things. If you don't know, don't know. Don't know. Because same thing I asked to sir, that sir, if one candidate back to back, this was the word that I used, back to back 4 or 5 questions, don't know. It may happen. It may happen. Either board may ask some of the factual question, or some of the areas, or some of the things probably you are not very sure. Then making a wild guess or taking something wrong, it's wise to skip. And then if it happens, then if you would have been in the board today, then would you like to penalize, or what you will do? So sir said, okay, that is not the purpose. The purpose is how you handle yourself in uncomfortable situation also. When you know something, then you are comfortable. But then there might be some certain questions that may make you very, very uncomfortable. It can be deliberate design also, just to push you a little bit and then to see how do you react. It happens, or so this is all about just my brief, you can say, suggestion is just to identify the probable areas, and then the probable questions could be, and then 2-3 lines, because you are not supposed to speak too much. But because if you speak too much, you can provide too much arms and ammunition to the board members and they may crossfire it. So it's always better to make it cut to cut and then keep it very short. So this is all about this. We'll very shortly we'll start uploading these probable areas. We have started identifying, and then we have also started working on the hobbies and those who have already supplied their DEF with us. So that will do. And then those who wants to ask certain question, you please ask one by one. You one instance you start asking, I will club it so that in the minimum time we can finish it in the next 2-3 minutes, and then we can have one-to-one also those who want to talk to sir, and then definitely we'll go to after this session. So don't worry for that. Sir will be coming to this place. We are also here to discuss DAF, whatever it is. So any question, particular question? Yes, please, go ahead.
Recently in the news, there is about a tutor of 9 terrorists who was in present regarding 2005 bomb blast. But after 11 years or 12 years, they have been acquitted.
Okay.
So how to handle, what to improve in this area, sir?
In the sense, if they ask these type of questions, which is very, very controversial, you can say. Okay, fine. Other questions, sir, may club easily.
Same controversial question can be asked about Kashmir issue.
Okay, fine. So, sir has already discussed that what to do with the controversial questions. Number one, controversial question. Okay, fine. One area, because we don't know what kind of question they are going to frame. But largely, if there is controversial in the sense where you cannot talk, you are not willing to talk very straight. And the more important also, that in these type of questions, actually you want to hide your actual position also. Because in open, here you can speak, with friends you can speak, you can have certain opinion. But then before board, you want to be polite, you want to be rational, you want to be accurate, and then what to do? What to do? In the sense, this seems to be a little bit controversial because you want to hide certain things, or probably you may not want to go very straight. It may happen. Number one, I just write down about the controversial question. Okay, how to handle the controversial question?
Political nature questions, sir.
Oh,
Like this
num-
one, we have more.
Okay, if there is at all political questions, okay.
Sir, the medium of my personality test is English, but my optional is English.
No issue for that. Sir was board member of expert committee, so we can discuss that kind of questions one-to-one. No issue for that. We'll take up questions which can address, you can say, the maximum, and then we can have one-to-one after. Okay. If you are already in service, okay, they expect you much more. That I can tell you.
There is a service preference, something which is unconventional.
Okay, yes, that day, yes. Service preferences unconventional. Anyone else?
No work experience.
No work experience. In the sense, for the last 3-4 years we are preparing. Okay, in the sense, it gives you, fine, there is a sensor that for the last 3-4 years, there is a gap in DEF that after, you can say, passing out from the college or any institution, that I am not doing anything, but then we are directly, you can say, engaged in preparation. Anyone else?
Sir, on which basis the board probes the interview? For example, there are, for few candidates, there are many factual based questions.
Yes, of course, yes.
For few people, there will be opinion based questions.
Okay.
How the board decides that?
Okay. So leave it, that we can discuss separately, how board used to decide. You can discuss with sir after that. Okay.
There will be like questions, why do I put the disturbed areas and northeastern areas at the below, as the last choices?
Okay, in the service preferences. Or the cadre preferences. Okay, why you can say some of the state, but then generally they don't go for that because it's a choice given to you. Then obviously you will give some state as priority. So in any case, if you fill the form, some states will go down, but then anyone, okay, fine. So hello, yes, Varun.
Slide.
Yes.
Tell me about yourself or why you have joined
Okay, why civil services?
How board will analyze on the basis of the candidate's answer?
Okay, how board will analyze why civil services? Just
Can you also tell me about yourself?
okay. That we can discuss Varun later. He is doing good and you will do good. Don't worry. Everybody will do good. Yes, please.
So how to handle if I have already made a spelling mistake in my app?
See, what happens?
Sir, an online viewer is asked if my major is different from my optional, do I still need to prepare well for majors?
Okay. Sir has already told, but okay, fine. It's fine. See, as far as those spelling mistake is done, it is done. You cannot do anything. But the one thing is very sure, that the morning you will go, they will give you the same form, same kind of form. So you have to be very careful. See, as such, too many things we cannot discuss about sir also. But then a person like sir was part of the board, part of the UPSC. Then the thing is that what makes something, you can say, the good impression or the bad impression? Because as such, just deliberate that is a piece of paper lying before the board members. So that speaks a lot about you, your background, your handwriting, your spelling. But then that is not, you should not worry about those things. It should not. So I just close it, then we'll go for one-to-one. Don't worry for that. And then again we will we'll have another round of meeting also. So number one, sir, the question is, we'll make it very brief. Yes, sir, the question is controversial question, number one. Number two, how to handle the political questions. Number three, if someone is in service, then there, in the sense, expectations are more, and then what kind of questions they can frame. It's very difficult to ask, but then difficult to discuss here. But then certainly some expectations are there. Then why civil services? What kind of, you can say, especially to the engineers, doctors, or for general, you can say, for humanities also, why civil services? Because while talking to the candidates, what I have realized, these days, board used to start with this question itself. Please have a seat and why civil services? But anyway, and then service preferences, and as in, you can say, the same kind of questions were asked in the live session also. If the major is different from the optional, most of the candidates, it is true with the most of the candidates, because often we used to change the optional subjects, and so sir, these are the 4 or 5 you can say key concerns. So we'll make it very brief because it is already you can say more than 1 hour, and then we'll have one-to-one session with the sir. Sir, please.
Actually, I had, I think, briefly covered some of these queries while speaking, but I'll further elaborate. Say, political questions can definitely be asked, like JNK, especially a few days before when you are going for the interview, if it is in news, they are bound to ask something about it. But then you should also go through the UN resolution. You should know what the UN resolution was, what portions of that UN resolution have not been respected by Pakistan. They were supposed to withdraw their forces, which they never did. So the UN itself has said it has become null and void. Now the question of Pakistan talking of plebiscite has no meaning, because they have themselves not adhered to the conditions under which that plebiscite was to be held. They've even gifted away some portion of Aksai Chin to China. So once you are able to marshal your facts, then you can say, and then you can talk of 370 protection for them, Article 370 protection for this thing. Basically, they want to know how much you know about the issue. I mean, I don't know, like, what kind of controversy you are having in mind about JNK. Can you just elaborate so that I can maybe make it? Who asked that question?
Sir,
Yeah.
the stance of the people there, some people in the valley and
I think it's very difficult to pass judgment. One, you can say, I mean, one is, while in India our constitution guarantees all the freedoms, and in J&K it is no less, in fact it's even more. You can read the preamble of the constitution, is it not? So there is no question of their saying they don't have autonomy. They have every kind of autonomy. In fact, Kashmir is being given a special assistance by center. It is unfortunately that Pakistan has been exporting terrorism there, and which is fueling these kind of feelings. And if there is such a strong feeling of going away from India, then how can so many of them vote? In adult franchise, I think the voting was of 60-70%, is not last time. So how can you say that they are not wanting to be with India? So I think these are all, and one thing more, these students or youth are being paid by some bad fellows to throw stones. Of course, there are always, the army or such military forces, when they are in a particular area, they have some problems. It's not as if they are angels. That, what is that act called? So they can ask you whether this is a good act or a bad act, or what is your opinion. So you can definitely say, after all, you cannot maintain law and order in that area if the army chaps themselves are afraid that some action will be taken against them for anything they do, even to catch a terrorist. So I think basically they are not wanting your judgment on anything. They are wanting how much you know about that issue. I don't know how many of you know, of course, you would know that J&K, even more Right to Education Act does not apply directly. They have to have their own Right to Education Act. Many, because of Article 370, their IPC is called something else, their CRPC is also called something else, and they decide which act of Government of India they would adopt. Okay, so there is so much of autonomy. So it's not fair to say this about acquittal after 11 years, I think somebody asked. This shows the strength of our judiciary in a way, because it does not prove that he was not guilty. You can also mention that. The fact that somebody has been acquitted after 11 years does not prove that he was not guilty. It only proves that the higher court felt that it could not be proved beyond reasonable doubts. So there was difference in understanding of the courts whether it was beyond reasonable doubt or not. Incidentally, because we are on this topic, in administrative actions, you don't have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. If you are taking action against somebody administratively, there one has to go by the level of proof has to be preponderance of probability of something having happened. Preponderance of probability. So there the level of proof is slightly lower. If you are already in service, you can say, I want to improve my career prospects. After all, IAS is the premier service, and I am serving in another, you are serving in some other service. I am enamored by the type of services which a district magistrate can render, or in a state, the opportunities they get to serve, and the type of responsibilities they'll get. In fact, it's almost unique in the world. I think only French had something similar to that, but that also is now not of that level. So you can say, well, I want to serve in this premier service, and I want to improve my career prospects further. There's nothing wrong in that. And I have an inclination to serve the majority of masses. In income tax or some other railways, you are comparatively still serving a limited area. On the other side, if any one of you has given preference for any of these services vis-a-vis IAS or IPS, then of course you can say, well, I was realistic, I thought that I'll be able to make only this much, so I have given this preference, because so that I at least have given preference of what I prefer in the other group A services. Okay. But they would definitely hate to hear that somebody has given IRS because he wants to make money. They will hate to hear, in fact, such a person would be out. He will get zero. I mean, if they get a feeling that your integrity is doubtful, I think integrity is something which they would definitely like to test in every case. If they feel that there is something wrong with the integrity, that's why I said bluffing. Bluffing is also shows that your integrity is doubtful. Okay. And some of you asked that you have not been working for 3 years, or it's okay, you were preparing. That you have to tell the truth. You have to speak the truth. What else can you say? Of course, if you want to say that, well, I was also taking some tuitions or this or that, well, if you have really done that, you can mention that. There's nothing wrong with that. That I come from a middle class family or lower middle class family, and to make my both ends meet, I was also taking some tuition classes while preparing for this, or I had gone to so-and-so place because my rural area does not have any libraries or this kind of facility, or does not even have internet facility, you can mention. Because of that, I traveled to the city and I was residing there, so to make my both ends meet, I have done this. Okay. And this opinion versus other questions, it doesn't happen, let me be very frank. I think there are 5 board members, and the chairman of the board, who is one of the members of UPSC, is very strongly advised that if one member is not able to get the answers from somebody, then he should move to the other members. And idea is not to know what all you do not know. Idea is to know what are the areas where you know enough and how sincere you are in your areas of study. And as I was telling, every day they also take stock of things as to what is the average marks given in a particular board versus other boards. So by and large, there are no such cases that one board is very liberal, other board is very harsh. There are no such things. And marks are given unanimously. All members discuss after you leave the room, and there is only 1% marks given. It's not as if one member is giving less, other member is giving higher. So that's why it's very important for you to impress all the members together. Okay. Majors versus minors, was it the question about what you have taken in the examination versus what you have read?
Yes.
I think both are important, because your degree is written there that you have done your mechanical engineering. Even if you have not taken any mechanical engineering subject in your optionals, still they have every right to ask you about mechanical engineering. Or if you are an MBA student, they'll definitely ask you what is IRR. Okay, so you cannot wish away your degree which made you appear in the examination. Many times that is a degree based on which you were eligible to appear, is not? So I think you have to have some basic knowledge of that area. You cannot wish it away.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.